everyone, welcome to my minimal living room tour. Come on in. So you join me in the living room straight off our hallway, which is literally right by our front door. I wanted to show you this space in a little bit more detail just because it is my absolute favourite room in the house. I think it's the most calming and the one that really reflects the minimal aesthetic the most. Now remember, there is so much more to minimalism than just the way something looks, but I particularly like the look of this space. I do live in quite a small space, so I'm going to show you what I have been able to do with a smaller living room. I'm going to point out my favourite things and some of the things that I'm actually not so keen on. So let's start over by the window. You're going to have to forgive me for being ever so slightly in the dark whilst I point the camera at the light source. So at the front of our house we have got a window. It's just a 3-pane window, and despite the fact that it's quite a big window, it doesn't actually let an awful lot of light into the room. This room can be quite dark. Luckily today's a lovely bright and summery day, so it's providing a little bit of light, but the lighting in here isn't great. So to really try and maximise that, I've lifted up our blind. We've got like a slatted blind which I pull down in the evenings to close, but in the daytime I raise it up, and I've just put in these sheer curtains just to frame the window a little bit. I wanted them to be sheer so they let in a lot more light. I like that everything in our window area is white. You know, the windows themselves are white, the blinds are white, the curtains are white. I think it really just helps to brighten this space as much as possible. I've got one of my baby yuccas in the window. So this yucca was a baby of a bigger yucca plant I used to have, and sadly that yucca is no longer with us, but it did have 5 babies. This is one of them and it's doing very well. So this is just what I've got at the front. It looks out over our front garden, and by garden I'm using that term loosely because it is just a small patch of grass next to our driveway with some shrubs sort of bordering the edges of it, but that is what's at the front. I've then got my gold clock up on the wall. This was actually something I bought before I'd even moved into this house. I saw it, I love the gold, and that actually became a theme of the room. You're going to see a lot of whites, greens and golds in this room. I bought it knowing I was planning on having quite a minimal aesthetic in the room, and I think it really works. I think when you've got a room where you've got a lot of plain, very basic furniture pieces, touches like this, particularly with the gold, really stand out and really look nice, and having different placements of gold around the room, which I have, really bring the room together. We then move around to one of these units. I have 2 of these, one either side. I will show you in full in a moment. Now, one of the things I don't enjoy about this space is the tangle of cords in the corner. They're not actually tangled. The socket placement in this room is just really, really bad. I wanted to put something here to cover it up, but then at the same time, I don't just want to be buying another piece of furniture for the sake of it. I've tried different placements of the furniture in the room to see if I can rearrange it in such a way that it looks better. I've not found anything that really works for the room yet, so making my peace with that at the moment. And I have just recently covered all the cords for bunny proofing, so now they are in a black casing, whereas before they were just white cords. You couldn't see them as obviously, and now they are super obvious, so having to make my peace with that. But then on this unit here I have got my spider plant. This was also grown from a baby. My mum's spider plant had babies, so now I have one of those and it's doing ever so well. And I've got a wax melt warmer here. I love to have sort of that smell that you get from scented candles, but I don't particularly like to burn candles in the house. Call it my paranoia. So having a warmer is just a way around that. So I love that. These cupboards are very slowly having less and less stored in them. It is my goal that eventually they will be empty and we will no longer need them, because I do feel like there is quite a lot of furniture in this room for such a small room, and whilst I feel like the choices I've made, you know, they suit the room, they're the best that I could have done with how much at the time we had to store. I feel like I did a good job, but I'm at a place now where I'm ready to out with the old, if you like, and just have less furniture items in the room. I think it will make the room feel bigger and more open. So now you can kind of see this whole unit system put together in full if I just step out of the way. So identical units either side and then sort of this media unit in the middle. One thing I really do love is the look of white furniture. I think the white furniture against the cream coloured walls really, really works, and we've also got sort of a light wooden floor, which I really love as well. So that all in all, in terms of an aesthetic, I really enjoy. The only change I might make, and this is way off in the future, because from my point of view, you know, having furniture pieces for 2.5 years, I don't buy them for just 2.5 years. I would like to get a lot more use out of them. However, moving forward, I think I would like to move away from the slightly mass-produced look that you can see here. When we moved into this house 2.5 years ago, it was our first home. We had to furnish the whole thing on a budget. We literally had nothing. And so a lot of our furniture is from IKEA. It is serving a purpose right now, and to be honest, I quite like the way it looks. I loved it when I moved in. I think I'm just a little bit used to it now, but I would love to have, you know, less furniture, maybe just one unique piece here in the middle, sticking to that minimal aesthetic. This media unit down here is serving less of a purpose for us now, because the gaming console industry has just decided to change the way that games consoles are designed. So we had 3 slots available for various consoles, and now none of our consoles fit into those slots. So this is definitely not future-proof. So whilst again it's a great size unit, the drawers are brilliant for storage, it kind of doesn't work for what we have anymore. So it does mean the games consoles are out on the top and visible, which, you know, I would prefer that they weren't, but that's just the way it is right now. So, you know, that's one of my lesser favourite parts of the living room, but to aid that, I keep the rest of this space really clear and tidy, and I have purposefully not started storing things in these slots because I don't want it to start looking really overcluttered. So I keep that space nice and plain and simple. So then we've got the last cabinet, which is the same as the first one, which is acting as our DVD storage at the moment. I'm doing very well over time decluttering DVDs when I feel ready to let go of them. But I really love this whole corner. Again, you can see that I've got these gold accents in both the lamp and this feather ornament here. This ornament is one of 2 ornaments I have in my whole house. I absolutely love this. This was another thing like the clock that I purchased ahead of moving into this house because I loved it so much. I think it's the perfect dainty minimalist feature for the room, and I really love it. So that's making up this corner, and then I have got my parlour palm, which I absolutely adore. It is now on a plant stand just because we had to raise it up a little bit so it was out of reach of our bunnies, who have a little bed down here. You can just see the top of it. That is a new addition because they needed somewhere to rest when they were out in the house with us. Sometimes they're free roam in here when we're about to supervise them. And then I have this on my wall, which I'm surprised has stood the test of time. This was my second ever attempt at macrame. The first time I used a kit to create a plant hanger, so it told me what to do, and from that I figured that I knew enough and used all the skills it had taught me, all of 2 knots I think it was, to create something that I made up as I went along. As you can see, it's not a very dense piece, very single layered, but actually I kind of like it now. It's grown on me. So that has stayed here. You know, it's natural in colour and texture. It's not too in your face, but it does mean that there is one less blank wall, and I purposefully kept that entire back wall clear because the TV was on it and the TV's quite big. So it needed the rest not to look overcrowded, but that did mean that other spaces in the room could do with something on the walls. So that is serving its purpose there. I quite like it. We then have these double doors which just lead through into our kitchen. As I said, small space. We've literally got a small hallway, living room, kitchen, and then it goes into a utility room and then just a downstairs loo. There's not a lot in our space downstairs, so it's really important for me that I store things efficiently, that stuff isn't left out and looking really cluttered, because As I said, I do prefer that minimal look. It makes me feel so calm. I just enjoy the space a lot more when there's not a lot of stuff crammed into it. I love this bookcase because it's small. As you can see, I do not store many books on it. These are all of the books I own that I am yet to read and that I have plans to read. If I finish a book and I don't think I'll read it again, usually I will just declutter it. There are a few I've held on to, but these are just my outstanding books, and I don't plan on buying another book until I've read those. I've said it loads of times, I'm a really slow reader, and it was my goal to actually read all of these this year. It's July and I'm on my second book of the year, so I don't think that's going to happen. I love this ivy plant and how it's grown long enough now that it drapes down slightly. I would be even happier if it kept growing and it kept draping down. We have got our wedding photo in a white frame. Again, I even think that photo in itself is quite minimalist. And then I've got 2 thank you cards on the middle shelf. So you can see, even though it's a bookcase, it is not overcrowded, it is not absolutely slammed full with books, and I keep the books to the bottom because it's more difficult to see the bottom when you're in the rest of the room because the arm of the sofa kind of blocks it from view. I keep the least cluttered things to the top and the things I want to see, which is my wedding photo, and then the more cluttered things to the bottom where they are more out of sight. Then we have our sofa. So we have this big chunky sofa and a matching chair, which you would have seen in the window shot. It is incredibly comfortable. I have fallen asleep many a time on this sofa. I really love it for that. But as time's gone on, I've been less in love with the dark colour of it because, as I said, small room, doesn't get a lot of light. I don't think having this colour really helps, and it's also quite bulky. Like, you can get some really sort of slim and dainty sofas that they might not be as comfortable, but this is really bulky and it does take up a lot of space. We did talk about getting a different sofa, maybe a cream coloured sofa, but then we got rabbits and decided if they're going to be in here and we're going to allow them to jump up, getting a cream coloured sofa probably isn't the best idea. So actually we're going to be sticking with this. To help it out a little bit, I did drape this white blanket over it just to lighten it up a little bit, and got some lighter pillows to put in front here. I've then got another plant in another gold planter to this side. Also, my ivy plant on that side was also in a gold planter. So you're seeing these touches of gold everywhere that really just sort of complement each other throughout the space. So I have another plant over on that side as well, which really kind of frames the sofa because I've got the ivy plant on one side and this plant on another. Above the sofa I have this picture, which was a birthday present from my parents. Once again, it is in a gold frame, so just tying that together in another place, and it has gold detailing in what is a very minimal design. The gold in the picture I think was the final thing that sold it to me. I don't know what this is meant to be of. I suppose you could interpret it in a number of ways. I think that's one of the enjoyable things about art, but I absolutely love this. And whilst I'm sat here, you can sort of see the almost symmetry that I'm trying to create in this room, with the plant on either side, the sofa itself being symmetrical with the pillows matching either side, and then the picture in the middle. And then the last thing is our white coffee table in the middle of the room. I kept this table completely bare for so long because I thought that would help with the minimal aesthetic, but actually it was too much. It became too plain and too simple, and the room really lacked sort of a central focal point. So I was gifted this pink tray, which I absolutely adore. It is the only pink thing in the room, and I don't know what it is, but I think the pale pink with the wooden effect just really works to draw your attention into the centre of the room. I've got my little palm in a white pot on top of these 2 books. So this is the only time I've ever kept books for a decorative purpose. I mean, I might reread Goodbye Things. It was a very good read. And then I've got my houseplant book. I think together they just look really cute. I was gifted this rhubarb candle by someone at work, but as I've mentioned, I don't like candles, but you can actually smell it without even lighting it. And I thought, even if I don't light it, it just makes for a really nice addition to this tray, just to have a little bit of a decorative effect in the room. And then it's just quite handy for placing some spare objects in if you've got them. For me, that just happens to be my sunglasses quite a lot, just because we've been having some beautiful weather. So when I'm rushing in and out, it's just handy to know they're here. They won't be there long term, and actually if I do remove them, I think the tray looks perfectly fine without them, and actually really, really nice. This is probably now my favourite part of this room. It's a close call between the tray and the picture on the wall. And so there you have it. That is everything in my small, minimal living room. As you can see, I like to keep spaces quite clear, but I do like the occasional decorative plant or tray. I have a few pictures on the wall. I also have my wax melt warmer. So it's not that there's absolutely nothing in this space. It is not that it is completely bare, but for me, it's just the right amount of stuff. I've also got plenty, if not at this point, too much storage furniture, which means I can use this space practically for storing items. So if you're thinking, well, it's all well and good having a minimal space, but you've got to be able to live in it and you've got to be able to store your stuff in it, I have managed that with the units I have. Those ones with the double doors as well, they are very deceptive. You can fit an awful lot in there. So all in all, this space is brilliant for me. It is perfect. It serves every purpose that I need it to. Whilst there are things in this space I'm not 100% happy with, overall, I do really, really love this room. As I said, it is my favourite room in the house to be in, simply just because of the way it looks, how relaxing it is, and how it serves all of the purposes I need it to. There are still some small changes and bigger changes in terms of the furniture that one day I might like to make, but for now that is not something that is in my game plan. This room I don't plan on making changes to any time in sort of the near future. I have got a lot more wear to get out of the furniture pieces, so I won't be replacing those, even if there is something that I might prefer in the shorter term. I'm going to be sticking with them until they have completely served their purpose, or until I've decluttered enough that I don't need as much storage in the room anymore. I hope you enjoyed this video or got some sort of inspiration from it, or just seeing what you can do as a minimalist living in a small space. If you did enjoy the video, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. If you would like to see more minimal room tours, let me know down in the comments. This is the first time I've done a room tour, so it is different to the content I usually put out. But if it is something you'd like to see more of, then I'd be really excited to make more videos like this. So let me know in the comments what you think, and if there's a particular room you would like to see next, then comment it down below. So that's all for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.